Hey guys, Tammy here. And today I want to talk about what is the first question that you should always ask yourself when you have a question about something related to child custody. That sounds kind of like a weird tongue twister type of thing. But if you have a question about anything related to child custody, there is one question that I always start with. And then there's a secondary one that I will share with you also. But there's one primary one that we start with in any situation if you're trying to figure out how to solve a problem. If you like this content, please hit like on the video. Also subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos are released. And please share on social media. I have a free Facebook group, okay, for moms. Sorry, dads, I don't have a free dads one yet. That's something that's in the works that I am working on. But I do have a free moms one that I've had for several years that I had even before Thomas passed. And so if you're interested in that, you can, I think if you're on Facebook, it's like facebook.com/groups/custody for moms. Okay. And it's a free group and you can go there and sign up for that. But what happens in that free group a lot of times is people are posting questions, right? All kinds of various questions about what happens when I have this problem, or have any of you ever had a guardian ad litem that you thought got it wrong, or have any of you ever had an ex that withheld the children, or have any of you ever had, whatever, take your pick of the question, anything. And it's amazing to me because, this is a group that's not restricted by state. I'm in California, but it's an open group for, just to help people who are dealing with help moms who are dealing with a narcissistic or high conflict co-parent on the other side, because how you deal with that is different than if you have somebody that isn't high conflict on the other side. That's much easier to manage. But when you have somebody that is, it's very challenging and it can be very isolating. And so I have this group for moms, and when people post, I'm always amazed because other people will just come in and start throwing out their opinions. People who actually, a lot of times I read the answers to questions and I think that's not exactly right. And sometimes it's a matter of philosophy, right? Like they just don't agree. They don't have the same approach to their case that I take to cases. And my approach to cases has been born out of observing judges and learning from them in the court system and attorneys and my late husband and all those kinds of things. So, when people are coming in with this, a lot of times from their own perspective, they're sort of giving advice with that tunnel vision of like only their case. That's the only thing they know, and each case is very unique and has its own set of nuances. And so it's different across the board. But a lot of times they'll say, well, here's what my ex wrote to me. Should I respond to him? Let's say a question like that, for example. And somebody will come on and say, no, girl, gray rock. Don't answer. Don't respond to him. Okay. My first question is, well, what do your court orders say? Okay. This is the first question you should always ask yourself. And you would be amazed how people put their orders in a drawer, and maybe this is you, and they don't really look at it anymore, or it's somewhere on their computer on a file. They haven't pulled it out. And then they're like, well, what happens on this holiday, or what happens with this issue? And it's like, well, first thing is, do your orders speak to this issue at all? Because if you're in a support group and you're saying, hey, should I respond on this? And somebody tells you, no, don't respond. But now, you missed this paragraph in your order that says you have 24 to 48 hours to respond. Okay, then that's a problem. Then you can't just not respond despite what somebody else's advice is. And the second question that I always ask, and I think people don't realize this as much, is what state do you live in? Because different states have different laws and different rules around all of this stuff, and different ways of doing their orders, and different ways of filing motions, and different on all of it. So if somebody in California is sharing their experience with you and you're in Maryland, well, there might be some crossover in some of the perspectives and approaches and all of that. But procedurally, that's going to look very, very different. You have to understand where the overlap is so that you can benefit from other people's perspective, but at the same time, also understand the limitations of that because it's not fully going to align. People often, again, come at things through just their own experience. And this is what, to me, makes the coaching aspect of what I do so valuable because we can't just rubber stamp this. I can't just look at a question and go, oh, this is what you should do. Most of the time, it's much more nuanced than that. That's why I like for people to get on a call, and talk to me or a member of my staff and figure out like, okay, what is it you're dealing with? What are the pieces that we can help you with? What are the pieces that you need to find an attorney or seek legal advice or see a mediator or whatever it is that you're going to choose to do to solve your problem? But understanding where somebody can help you and somebody can't. And again, very hard to do when somebody's only coming at it from their own perspective because each person is different. And honestly, even if you're in a group like mine where we're all dealing with a narcissistic ex, well, guess what? All of those narcissists are different. We've all heard the labels of the different covert narcissists, and, it goes into sociopath and, all the different spectrum. And so where your high conflict ex is on the spectrum may be different than somebody else's. And I find that even two people who are kind of both extreme, some things will work with one person and it won't work with another. This is why in the coaching, like I like to come alongside and work with somebody because as we're communicating with the other person and as we're moving through those things, I see how the other person responds, right? And that starts to inform the process for me. And I get that kind of real-time feedback where I start understanding, okay, this person doesn't respond to this, they respond to this. And there's all these nuances that come from their own experiences and their own traumas and all the things that they've been through. Then you've got different ages of kids. You've got different, sexes of kids. Some are boys, some are girls. You've got different experiences for each of those children. Some of them are the oldest, some of them are the youngest, some of them are the middle child, right? All these different things. And you've got different levels of parental involvement. You've got different school situations. You've got different, some kids are in therapy, some are not. Some families are religious, some are not. There's all these different nuances that go into helping somebody with their case. And this is why you need specialized advice. You need somebody that can dig into the case with you and the situation with you and kind of hold your hand and help you move through the process. Because just giving you a checklist or giving you an answer to a question off the cuff is not really going to solve your problem, because what worked for me might not work for you. And, our friends and family are well-meaning. A lot of times we're asking them, but honestly, they too may have had their own experiences, or they're emotional, or they don't like your ex either because they don't like the way the ex has treated you, right? All those kinds of things. And you don't want input from people that have an emotional bias in that way. You need an objective perspective that can come in, understand the details, and really help you with how to navigate this process. But first and foremost, you never want to be in violation of a court's order. So if a judge made an order and it's in there, then you need to follow it unless somebody is at risk of life or death. Otherwise, you need to follow that order. One of the things the judges hate the most in any case is when somebody doesn't follow their orders. That's the very first thing that you need to ask yourself. And secondly, you need to consider what state you're in. So if you'd like to learn more about my coaching services, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There's a link on that page where you can book a time to speak to one of my staff and learn about my services and how I might be able to assist you on this journey. See you guys next time.